joining us now on the Oakland County MegaCast to talk about that and further plans going forward for our schools all throughout the state is Dr. Tina Kerr. She is the new Executive Director of the Michigan Association of Superintendents and Administrators, joining us on the Oakland County MegaCast. Dr. Kerr, thank you for being with us today.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate having you on and welcome you. It's your first day on the job. How are things going so far?
Going great my first 3 hours.
Very nice. What a day to start, too. Governor Whitmer yesterday releases her My Safe Schools Return to Learn plan. It's a 63-page document. Have you and your organization been able to take a look over at some of those plans so far, and what maybe are the early conversations that your organization is having with some schools across the state as they're tailoring that roadmap, as the governor referred to it as, to their local school districts?
Well, obviously, we haven't had a chance to completely dissect all 63 pages, but I think that our association did put out some kind of highlights for our members to talk about, especially phase 4 and phase 5 of how we operate. Certainly, all the districts now know that they're working on basically 3 plans: the complete online learning model, depending on the phase they're in, then moving into some online, some in classroom, in person, and then being in phase 4 and 5, being able to be in the classrooms, but having to follow the specific safety precautions. So we really are trying to make sure that our members have a good idea of what's entailed in that document, but also working together to ensure that we can bring our kids back to school safely.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how feasible, in your opinion, are these plans, and was there something that wasn't in them that you would like to see?
We were just excited to have some concrete direction now. I feel like we're in a position that we can, whether we see that there may be things that aren't there, certainly that's going to be a possibility once we have an opportunity. And the governor's office has been honest about that. If you see an area that we need to address, then certainly let's do that. The other piece is what this means for us from a policy and legislative basis too, because we do have requirements that our members and districts have to follow. And some of the things may have to change based on when we get our plans in place. So that certainly there's more to come on that, but we are thrilled with having some concrete direction. And this task force really put a lot of time and energy to trying to set us up for success moving forward.
We're joined now by Dr. Tina Kerr, the Executive Director of the Michigan Association of Superintendents and Administrators, with us on the Oakland County MegaCast. Governor Whitmer also announced Executive Order 2020-142 yesterday that requires each school district to adopt a COVID-19 plan that lays out how it will protect students and educators across the various phases of the Michigan Safe Start plan. That's also part of this, what this roadmap also provides a guide to these school districts. But to help with that, that means PPE. That means in some cases putting further measures in place at the physical brick and mortar schools in order to promote social distancing and to promote extra cleanliness. The governor also announced that as part of the budget agreement with the Republican lawmakers in the legislature that the state is allotting $256 million to support districts in implementing their local plans as part of this plan from this upcoming budget year. How critical are those funds going to be, especially to school districts in less fortunate areas, for them to be able to put these plans in place? And will that maybe help them on the technological angle as well as in terms of PPE and safety measures?
Well, those funds were absolutely critical. We know that it's going to cost districts approximately $400 per student to implement these safety precautions. So certainly those funds are going to go a long way to ensuring that districts can remain held harmless during this transition period. It also allowed us, the fiscal year for our districts ended yesterday. So now, instead of making tremendous cuts that we had anticipated, this has allowed us to be in a better budget position. However, moving forward, we are going to have to continue to get some federal support so that districts can continue to be held harmless, because the PPE, whether we are starting school, those are still going to be ongoing expenses as we move into the 2021 school year.
Dr. Tina Kerr with us from the Michigan Association of Superintendents and Administrators on the Oakland County MegaCast. The roadmap also recognizes the impact that these changes that we've already experienced during the pandemic and that we're going to continue to experience as we go forward and into the fall on students' mental health as well, and that mental health, of course, of the staff and faculty of these schools as well. How critical, what is your organization talking with to local superintendents and to these individual school districts about in terms of emphasizing mental health treatment and conversations with your students and your teachers so that these transitions can be A, as smooth as possible, but B, for the health and safety of your students as well?
So there are several statewide stakeholder groups. I happen to be on a couple of those, the 31N, which was funding that came into play so that we could add additional supports prior to COVID to support student mental health and well-being. These work groups continue to work during this time, knowing that the first line of defense for kids that need help is their teacher. And when we had to move to the online model, number of referrals, of course, went down. However, we did see a spike in abuse cases and other issues with children at home. So going forward, we have to continue to do and work hard to ensure that our students, number one, are safe in the school environment, but number two, if we are in an online model, they're still going to need support at home. And I do believe that there's a lot of groups that have really focused on this area and will continue to move forward in this pandemic or whatever it looks like when we return in the fall.
We're definitely in some very interesting times right now, and definitely on the education front. I have family that are educators, and they've told me some stories about this sudden change. We've talked to a lot of school administrators, superintendents, teachers, even students about these changes. These are drastic, and we're continuing to learn through this process how to educate kids in school and virtual, kind of hybrid, all virtual, and learning in schools is definitely going to be changed from this as well. How do you see going into the future when we're past this pandemic that the education of our children in the state of Michigan is going to be forever different as a result of the pandemic?
So with every challenge comes an opportunity, and I do believe this is our opportunity in education to change how we deliver instruction to students, but also how we perform across the state moving forward. We found through the pandemic, we already knew there was an equity gaps that existed across the state. However, the pandemic brought that to a whole new level. We are going to have to be more proactive and serious about closing the equity gaps that exist across the state. At MASA, that is a priority focus for us moving forward. This is not going to be a one-year goal of how do we change this. It's going to be an ongoing goal over the next 3 to 5 years, because the pandemic has taught us a lot, that we had several weaknesses that needed to be addressed, equity being one of the largest of those. So moving forward, I think this is a great opportunity for us. Our superintendents, our principals, our teachers, they all need to be commended. This kind of came and we weren't ready, but now knowing and having lived through it for the past 4 months, school districts have really worked hard this summer to try and change the conversation moving forward. And so I'm excited to see what the fall will bring, because I know people are going to be more prepared and our students are going to prosper because of that preparation.
One of the issues prior to COVID was classroom size. So you speaking of opportunity coming out of this, do you think we are going to see smaller classrooms and long term, and will that be a benefit from here on out?
That's hard to say. Districts have typically, yes, we want to keep smaller class sizes, but we can't lose sight of the fact that we are going to be having tremendous financial challenges next year. Certainly, we know we have to keep the students safe, so the class size we would have to definitely look at that. However, there is concern with the type of potential cuts that districts are facing. They're going to need some help in order to maintain an appropriate learning environment while also maintaining the safety precautions that they need to have in the district.
Dr. Tina Kerr with us, the new executive director of the Michigan Association of Superintendents and Administrators, with us on the Oakland County MegaCast. Dr. Kerr, just a couple more minutes with you before we let you go. Any other topics that we haven't touched on today that you feel are important to discuss, or anything else that you'd like to say?
As I said before, I really am very committed, and we're very focused at MASA to make sure our districts and our superintendents have all the support they need. Again, I cannot thank them enough for all their hard work that's been going on. We all know, and we're all working together to ensure all 1.5 million children are having a quality education, and we've learned so much through this pandemic, and I look forward to seeing what the future brings, and certainly look forward to being part of the solution.
Dr. Kerr, we thank you very much for being with us today on the program.